Jobs numbers have been improving slightly month to month, but there's still a staggering number of unemployed. Our next guest, though, says it's time to step up the fight on job loss. Joining us now is Jim Clifton. He is the CEO of the Gallup Organization and the author of a new book, The Coming Jobs War. And it's great to have you on the set, Jim.
Good to be here.
So, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about the book, but I really want to ask you actually about the jobs numbers, if I could. Which is, do you think currently the numbers that we just saw last month, or last week rather, about last month, will hold up? We just had this conversation about 2 hours ago about whether actually next month we're going to see, because of the participation rate, ultimately a number that looks a lot uglier.
Well, you know, the BLS does 60,000 interviews a month, and they do it in the second week of the month. Gallup mirrors that with 30,000 interviews throughout the whole month, so it's sort of live. Right now, we show unemployment going back up, so this morning. So if you go to Gallup.com, you can see a morning score. And so there's no way that it'll go down. But if you had to bet, well, famous $10,000. If you had to bet $10,000, you'd bet it'll get up close to 9.
Over the next couple of months, is that?
No, now.
Right now for the next report?
Absolutely.
Just because more people are coming back into the workforce?
I don't think so, because we also ask how many people are actively looking. I think it's just going to go back up. Next report.
When we look at different polls and you hear, well, Gallup says this, Rasmussen says this, the other one says this, are the samples not big enough? Are the questions different? How do we get such a divergence between poll numbers? And then I want to get to what you just said, and that is the president's numbers. We're under the impression it's back to 50. You just said for Gallup it's 44 for approval?
For the month, yeah. Maybe 45 this morning.
44 to 45. That's a difference that either re-elects someone or doesn't re-elect someone. How can it be so wide?
I don't mean to make a pitch for Gallup, but we do meticulous sampling throughout the month. So we do a sample of 30,000. Most of the other polls, I won't mention them, do only like 1,000.
Yeah.
And so the representation that Gallup has over the month is really accurate. Another thing that you'll see is where you'll see some poll that will go up to 50%. That's just it flying around with variation in sample range. So Gallup is trying to be real responsible with giving just exactly the right number. By the way, you can see this every single morning. You can see unemployment. You can see approval ratings. You also can see Obama versus Romney, Obama versus
He's still
Senator.
ahead of Romney at this point.
A little bit, yeah.
Given the employment data and the GDP data and the positive economic statistics, it made sense to see the president's approval rating go back up to 50%. You mentioned off camera, no one heard this, but you mentioned that Gallup picks up headwinds that the president is facing. What headwinds are you talking about? If the trend is down in unemployment and up in GDP and the stock market, what headwinds? Ideological headwinds?
No. When you have an approval rating of 44 or 45%,
yes,
you never win. You need to be 50 plus. And so
the Republicans are trying very hard to make someone win.
You're saying nobody's 50 plus right now.
No, but I say other presidents. So if you go back over the last 8 presidents, to win, you need to have an approval rating of 50+%.
So this would have to continue some of these numbers. Is it all based, would Gallup say...
This is a different election, but I'm just saying historically, you never win at this.
Is it all the economy? We've heard that so many times. That if and even they talk about these cutoff rates for unemployment, but if it's headed in the right direction, we've seen where it wasn't the absolute number, it's the direction the economy's headed that can bring the wind behind a president's back.
And when you have unemployment just at about 20%, you know, if you add them together, it makes all of us just 1 degree off of somebody that's unemployed. And so if the unemployment does go back up a little, I'm sure it will. You see, then then it touches so many more people, and we pick that up in our polls.
Right. In the book, you talk about how there are 30 million people who don't have what you describe as good jobs in this country, and that 18 million people. Am I wrong on this number? I think it's 30 million.
Yeah.
And the question is, 18 million don't have jobs at all of your 30, correct?
No, the 18 million have no hope of getting a job.
No hope of getting what you describe as a good job.
Yeah.
And my question then becomes, how do you get any of those 18 million people, and what percentage of those 18 million people could eventually get good jobs? What do you have to do?
Well, I don't quite know where to start with this. John and I were talking about this off camera. But there's about 60 trillion GDP. If you do the math on this, over the next 30 years, it's going to go to 200 trillion. So the whole question is who gets the 140 trillion of incoming stuff. That's sales and customers and all that kind of thing. So the United States of America has to keep winning its big share. So we're 25% of the 60 trillion right now. But jobs follow customers. Nobody knows this. Only John and I know this. but jobs follow customers. Nobody in Washington knows this. Jobs follow customers, not the other way around. And so until 6 million small businesses start growing a little bit, the jobs won't come back. And they just have a problem with confidence. And as soon as their confidence comes back a little bit...
Well, if we could get these stingy bankers to lend them some
money, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still here.
But listen, but that's not true. That's not true.
No, I know. This is the debate we've had for 2 years about whether there's no demand.
It's absolutely regulations, and more specifically. So if you say, how come you don't have confidence to those 6 million CEOs that got up this morning, it's absolutely regulations. More specifically about environment and healthcare. Only 20%.
Well, you're going to have to push back on that.
But only 20%.
I can't just clap. So you need to.
No,
push
but the
back
healthcare is right. But then the book talks a lot about healthcare, and these are real issues. But the question is, how do you fix healthcare? And that becomes a great challenge.
Jim, you seem so outspoken on this that when I look at Gallup, I would have to say, do you ever get? I mean, you just put the results, right? None of your personal opinions go into the numbers that come out of Gallup, right?
Yeah, that was our founder's mission and all that. Yeah,
and you will continue that.
But when we say how many of you are having a great amount of difficulty getting a loan from a bank, that's 20%. So that's really not the problem. Right. About 20% of people.
And it probably wasn't Wells Fargo. It's probably some other.
But about 20% of people should have trouble get a loan. That's about the right number.
That's the historical average where you would see that, where people just don't have the basis for bringing in a loan.
Yeah, they have to go and make their case and.
Wow. We got to leave it there. We got to have you back.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to talk about. But thank you.
Between now and the election, it'd be nice to have Gallup in a few times to talk about things.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.